Hey everybody, welcome. Thanks for joining us for this Dubber webinar. It is how service providers are improving revenue and retention with Microsoft Operator Connect. We've got a great turnout. Appreciate everybody coming. We're going to have very much a kind of conversational panel format here. So before we get started, I just want everybody to give a quick introduction. So I'm Tom Arbuthnot, and I work for Pure IP and Empowering Cloud, my own company, on Teams training and advisory. Taimur, if you could give us a brief intro of your role and background.
Cool. Yeah, I'm Taimur. I look after our telco strategy here at Microsoft, looking at the modern work M365 workloads.
Awesome, thanks. Mark?
Yeah, thanks. I'm Mark Bonnell. I'm the Chief Operating Officer here at Nuwave. Handle the day-to-day operations, the customer experience, and the architecture of our iPilot software platform.
Awesome. And Adrian?
Yeah, I'm Adrian DiPietrantonio. I'm EVP of Global Partners and Alliances for Dubber, working closely with the likes of partners like Microsoft and service provider customers around the world.
Awesome, thank you. So as you can see from those brief intros, we've got a wealth of knowledge and experience on this call and lots of contact points with different operators in the industry. So I think we don't need to kind of go into the full-on Teams is changing the world pitch. From my point of view, everybody on this call probably is seeing that in real life, but clearly it is impacting the market, and new programs from Microsoft like Operator Connect and Teams Phone Mobile having even more impact. So, Taimur, I'd like to come to you first. Could you kind of set the scene around Operator Connect, DR, and Teams Phone Mobile, and what your position is and what you're seeing in the market as well from your point of view?
Yeah, sure, Tom. Thanks. I think it's important to do a little bit of a historical context. We've been bringing telephony into Microsoft collaboration solutions for 14 years now. And so, as we get along, and we evolved our product sets and our solutions, we've seen increased interest in sort of consolidating workplace tools into what we offer. And so, Teams has this capability of bringing in PSTN since we introduced direct routing about 4 years ago, and that just means that we can sort of have Teams as a telephony platform or a PBX replacement platform, and we saw a lot of interest in that as we got along. Customers were deploying their own SBCs and they were doing their own infrastructure to be able to bring in their existing telephony or migrate away from their existing telephony platforms onto Teams. And then we also saw a lot of operators or telcos sort of have interest in doing this work for customers. In a lot of markets and in a lot of customer segments, customers look towards their local telco operator to help them decide on what's the right decision for them from a telephony perspective. And so we saw a lot of operators sort of creating these solutions for their customers and being able to deliver telephony into Teams. And so we thought about, how can we make this easier, more scalable, more industrialized for a particular telco partner to productize this and bring it to market to their customers. And that's kind of how OC was born, right? Operator Connect was born. We wanted to sort of bring a product that, on the one hand, helped telcos bring this really great capability to their customers in a much more industrialized way, in a way that scales to tens of thousands of users and customers. We also wanted to have a high-quality service that provided customer confidence, and voice is a critical nature. We've always heard about how voice is absolutely mission-critical within an organization. So we wanted to be able to bring that customer confidence to the table as well. And so that's why we thought about what is Operator Connect going to bring. And Operator Connect really is a platform. It's a handshake between the Microsoft organization and the telco, right? So telco cloud to Microsoft cloud, we do a handshake and we build this platform up. And this platform is built on several different pillars that include network connectivity and high availability and higher quality service and improved support process, redundancy, all of those things and many, many more to be able to realize this vision that we had for our customers. And so that's kind of where, historically it was born, why it was there, and what it's meant to be doing. So we've been actually in market with Operator Connect for about a year and a month now. I want to say, it's just been a little bit over a month. So a year and a month now, we've seen tremendous traction. with Operator Connect. Couldn't be happier with the way that it's being adopted by our customers, by the telco operators that are actually part of the program, and many, many more that are in the process of onboarding into that program as well.
Yeah, I think it's up to 42 providers I saw the other day. It seems like, and it's ticking up all the time. I keep an eye on it. It seems like the regular additions to it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. We're constantly working with operators to make sure that they're ready and prepared to provide the service and to be successful with providing the service as well. So it's pretty great. We're very happy with it. And we, like I said, Operator Connect is a platform. And what that means is our vision is that on this platform, we're going to be providing a bunch of different services along with our telco partners. So fixed calling was the first service that we launched about a year and a month ago. The ability to provide fixed line or wireline numbers into Teams, leveraging this great capability. We'll also have various other things that we'll put on top of it, like conferencing is another one that we have an ambition to put on top of Operator Connect. Mobile integration and providing mobile wireless numbers into Teams is another ambition that we have, and we've recently launched what we call Teams Phone Mobile into fruition as well. But it's all built into the same platform and to the same capability for our telco partners. And then we have some other ideas about how we're going to evolve. Essentially, we want to enable telcos and operators to be able to bring all of their services into M365 platforms, in this case Teams, and potentially in the future Azure as well. So that's kind of our main idea.
That's really great, thanks. Yeah, it's interesting, the Azure space as well, because clearly that's a big opportunity with the Azure communication services and the platform play there.
Absolutely.
It'd be good to get a bit of insight from you. You mentioned you see that, or you saw before Operator Connect, that a lot of customers were going towards direct routing as a service from providers, and I saw the same thing. Have you got any feel on kind of ratios these days of customers that are classically rolling their own and playing with SBCs and managing those in-house versus going to an OC or DR as a service?
Yeah, I don't necessarily have anything to share on sort of numbers in terms of what customers are pivoting towards. But we definitely see a massive uptick of interest in having a fully managed and provided telephony service. It also just depends on customer segment and the kind of customer you have and the geography. I mean, there's a bunch of other things like regulatory issues as well as compliance and potentially for customers to have locations, SCIF locations, secure locations, etc., where they still tend to gravitate towards doing this themselves. Or if a customer has a super mature IT department or they have really complex integrations with third-party telephony platforms, etc., they tend to try to do this themselves. But we certainly see a massive, massive interest, I would say more so towards having a fully managed provided telephony service from a telco partner. And so that's kind of where I see the trend going.
Yeah, Mark, I guess that's a good time to turn to you because you've got a view of the market over multiple customers. So, Mark, could you give us just a little bit of context about where you play and both your own services and your Operator Connect Accelerator and what that means?
Yeah, sure. Thanks for having me too. So, I mean, we're seeing really complex integrations. I mean, every customer has a different, setup, different legacy components. They're, geographically diverse. And so what we're seeing is, companies that have, Operator Connect needs, they're in areas where Operator Connect is not available. And so then they have direct routing needs. Maybe they've deployed, SBC on-premise infrastructure, in places that have reg like India, or maybe they just deployed it that way early. And so, they need a single pane of glass to be able to, control all of that. And so that, that's where we play is providing, that single pane of glass, setup for all of those different use cases. And then layering on top of it, other value-added services for auto provisioning, call recording, compliance recording, and such. And so, when I tell people that, the on-premise phone system just isn't sufficient anymore, and you have to go to the cloud, you have to have a single pane of glass, setup to where you can control and have the visibility and control over that cloud phone system as if it was on-prem. And so, that's what we provide, and we're living in an on-demand world, so why should telecommunications be any different? So you should be able to, see your analytics and provision your users and get, phone numbers in different geographies, You should be able to control, the users on on-premise phone systems. And then maybe, when you're a multinational, you have contracts with other providers that you can't get out of, but you want to move to Teams and you don't want to wait those contracts out. So we also allow for customers through our synthesis product to bring their own voice from those, contracts that are still in play, so that they can, still move early and get those types of things, brought in without having to delay and wait, or have a bespoke, site that's outside of the purview of the rest of the sites. And so, and then having other tools like legacy, capabilities. So if you have, existing phone systems like, Avaya or Cisco or something like that, and you have SIP trunks into those, to be able to, plug SIP trunks into those phone systems, migrate those numbers, and then move in batches to Teams at your leisure, and putting that control in the customer's hands. We have all of those types of capabilities so that you truly get a single pane of glass, no matter what country, we're talking about, any geography, we're on every continent as far as network goes. And so, those are the types of things that we're trying to make sure that customers have in their hands, is being able to cover all the use cases.
What are you seeing, Mark, as a kind of like I think it's important. I often find customers misunderstand that it's not an either-or decision between direct routing, operator connect, even different providers for direct routing and operator connect, and obviously now Teams Phone Mobile. And also you mentioned there are some geographies where an on-premise or in-geography SBC is still a requirement. Are you seeing customers mix and match those technologies as appropriate?
100%. I mean, that's the multinational aspect. I mean, there's so many countries that some of these companies are in, and there just isn't the same ubiquitous coverage across all of those. And so we're definitely seeing that is the ability to mix and match, and have the ability to turn on Operator Connect where it's available, to then go to someplace like maybe Zimbabwe where Operator Connect is not available, but we can get the underlying telco in that region to plug in some SIP trunks and do direct routing, and control both Operator Connect and direct routing in the same interface. And then again, also from India, bring on-premise SBCs to the table and mix those users in, and be able to manage them seamlessly and very effectively. We don't want you to have an engineering degree to be able to run your phone system. So it's a very simple stepwise setup that we put together, and we're seeing that across the board, that all of these things come together. I'd like to say it was by intelligent design that we're geniuses, but really what it comes down to is that we're really listening to our customers, because it's not an if you build it, they will come scenario. If you listen to your customers, they'll tell you what the use cases are. They'll tell you what's the real world applications for the system. And so when we listen to those things, and we measure our dev time in weeks, not quarters or years. And so we can very quickly take those use cases and then build them in, so that, we cover all the different use cases that people come across. And so, they tell us exactly where we need to go with the market.
I think that's an interesting point around the speed of dev there, because I think this market is changing faster than it's ever changed. Telco is not a fast market traditionally, but I think the customer requirements changes. Obviously, the pandemic had a massive impact as well. But I think even now seeing Teams Phone Mobile again, I think that will have a bigger impact than some people think around options for customers.
Mm-hmm. And we're seeing a lot of pieces around with maybe coming recession that's happening globally. We're seeing a big need for automation to do more with less. Maybe they're having to scale down people, or not have really proficient PowerShell people on staff, or maybe they want to eliminate infrastructure. They're trying to get rid of a Cisco phone system or Avaya phone system to eliminate support contracts and licensing and all of those types of things.
Yeah, I see a lot of that at the moment. It's a cost-driven conversation. I mean, I'm a Teamsy kind of focused person. I would assail the virtues of Teams, but to a lot of customers, a phone's a phone. But the opportunity to reduce those costs, to streamline the user experience, that seems to be the driver. Yeah, Adrian, I want to turn to you. I think most people on in the audience will probably know of Dubber, but could you just give us the 50,000 foot view of how Dubber's come about, and your world, and what you're seeing, and the impact of Teams, because you see it from a lot of different telco carrier perspectives, so you've got a different perspective to all of us.
Yeah, so 100%. So Dubber is a platform that provides call recording and voice intelligence solutions directly through to the service provider market, to provide solutions, anything sort of ranging anywhere from compliance all the way through to productivity. So we've been around in the market for quite some time. I think we work now with over 175 providers globally. So we've seen a pretty big shift in the way recording and data capture and then leveraging that data in a network is utilised. We came from the UC space and historical network-based solutions, and then we work very heavily with the platform solutions like Microsoft and Cisco, etc. And obviously, we're seeing the likes of customers. Obviously, there's a big demand for platform-based solutions, Microsoft Teams, etc. And I guess where we really differentiate is we're looking to sort of work with the service provider and turn that network into usable content for every user. And that can be for a compliance-based use case that sits across multiple type solutions, across multiple different geos. So, it might be a Teams-based solutions augmented with a wireless or mobile solution, and having the ability to be able to leverage that data and then use that for any compliance use cases, regulated use cases, or using that to automate processes and productivity within a business.
Yeah, that feels like an interesting next step. Is like when I think about coding, I typically jump to compliance as a conversation, but obviously, like leveraging that massive amount of data makes a lot of sense too. Yeah,
100%. Compliance and regulated space is a space that's growing, and with the rise of cloud-based solutions, it makes it a lot easier for enterprises or the service provider to offer a compliant-based solution through that enterprise. It helps with the shift from on-premise legacy solutions because they're able to put process into place a lot easier than having to manage on-premise or siloed data in siloed storage devices or storage mechanisms. So really where we see a huge uptake is, previously people didn't have the ability to capture the data, to understand what was happening within a business and then be able to use that to improve efficiencies for productivity, or automate different processes and understand what's happening across the enterprise as a whole. So we're working pretty closely to innovate consistently with not only the platforms but the service providers themselves to help them differentiate on top of these type of solutions like Microsoft Teams, to bring more functionality and more opportunity to drive revenue and uplift in uplift for those customers.
Yeah, and that revenue is interesting. I would have turned to that. So Timo, I guess from a Microsoft perspective, obviously you've 42 operators in just over a year. I know there's a bunch of more that want to get on. I feel like I get a LinkedIn message at least once every couple of weeks saying, how do we get on the Magic program? Like there's clearly a lot of demand there. And I guess from a Microsoft perspective, and keep me honest, like you want to provide customers lots of options, lots of opportunity. Like that, I presume that's not going to change with Teams Phone Mobile. We'll see even more operators coming onto the program.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we're very honored to have a lot of interest from our partners, both for Operator Connect Fixed and for Teams Phone Mobile as well. We're continuing to sort of talk to operators to make sure that they're successful, to make sure that they understand what the requirements are, to make sure that they can provide a compelling product to our customers. We'll be onboarding. Teams Phone Mobile is a little bit of an interesting one. We're kind of focusing a little bit on onboarding as well as providing the service with our 6 launch partners at the moment. So Teams Phone Mobile is very, very new.
Yeah,
it's about a month old. And so Teams Phone Mobile is going to be something that we'll be keeping a very close eye out on. We have a lot of interest for that as well. And I think that towards the middle of next year, we'll start to sort of think about additional partners as well. But for Operator Connect, absolutely, we are continuing to work with all of the partners that have interest or have showed interest and move forward with them. So we do expect both of those lists to grow significantly next year.
Nice. And I guess that's a great for Microsoft, great for customers, great opportunity for the operators that can make the most of it. But let's talk about like the reality is it's getting competitive out there, and obviously as Mark mentioned, the kind of recession word, like that people are going to be cost conscious. Mark, I'd like to turn to you. What I mean, is that the reality out there? It is a very competitive landscape, and what can operators do to make the most of this opportunity and maybe differentiate?
Yeah, I think that, it's still a land grab. You're trying to cast a wide net and bring in a lot of customers. And really what it comes down to is, how are you adding value? How are you differentiating yourself from the other providers? Having a quality network and no downtime and those types of things is obviously, a paramount, right, to have, quality of service. But, what other value are you adding to your customers to, have a complete program? It's one thing to be able to just turn up, a customer and have them call in like a traditional telco, but I think that the market has really spoken, and having the customer do a lot of the work, and where they want to do that work, they want to own it, and they want to have all the tools that are available to them, and so that's exactly what we're providing to not only the customers, but for telcos to be able to manage that themselves, their service delivery teams to be able to come in and do that. We have a lot of CSPs and SIs that turn up their own customers and make it a managed or professional service and charge their customers, but use the tools that we provide to do 20 or 30x the work, just because it's so easy and simple to turn up and manage those customers. And so again, we're living in an on-demand world, and so the customer has really spoken to us and said, that they want all that control and visibility themselves. They want to be able to do migrations at their leisure. They want to be able to move batches and order more services and things like that. And so, that's what we've provided. And our stats that we're looking at, we see that about 77 to 78% of all of our customers and partners and operators do in fact self-serve. That's a really high number, and what that boils down to is not only control and a great customer experience, but it also translates into savings when you can have your service delivery team as an operator, do more with less. No swivel chairs. You don't have to send it to all these different team members and engineers down the line to provision somebody on Operator Connect or Direct Routing. A single service delivery person can see the customer from start to finish and having them making calls in 10 minutes. That's faster time to revenue. That's a better customer experience. That's having less people in the service delivery department, where they can be then, maybe moved into more of a customer service role to have white glove service to keep improving that customer experience. So less infrastructure that you have to have. So the equation of savings and service is not just in the service itself, but it's that entire equation of all of the things I just mentioned, which shows the true value of providing a service and what is the tangible, real cost of a great customer experience and a happy customer that refers future business to you. All of those things have to be taken into account.
And what about adding like additional opportunities? So obviously you've done some work with Dubber. Can you talk us through how that adds value for you as an operator and a platform, or for operators out there, but also for customers? How does that work?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, we did the integration with Dubber. We can, not only for ourselves and our own customers, but other service providers using our platform. It's basically a marketplace. So, our service providers can go to Dubber directly. They can get a direct MSA, put their API credentials for their account into the platform, and so it transacts that business directly with Dubber on their MSA, but they use our platform to turn up and provision that business automatically. And so we're doing that and continuously adding more value, more providers. So when we're doing an integration right now with Microsoft with D365 Contact Center, so you'll be able to provision, through ACS and turn up, Contact Center automatically for your customers. And so it's those types of service that we'll continue to add.
Yeah, I think, if I sort of mention some stats, Gartner sort of predicts that already 75% of conversations, of all conversations, will be recorded within the next 2 years by 2025, and that's a pretty big number. And historically, you might think, okay, that's a compliance-based recording or use case, but it's really it's a lot more than that. It's because they're realizing the extremely content-rich data that sits within the telephone calls, and the general understanding that businesses and enterprises can leverage that data for some of the things we talked about earlier. But really, that's where the opportunity is for the service provider to be able to leverage those new products that we're bringing to market with the service provider, with the platforms, and making it easily. I think we've lost everybody.
And is that like a whole new opportunity for? I don't traditionally think about operators at the app level, and I think it's interesting with Dubber that opening up a new potential revenue stream there.
Well, yeah, it's providing the foundational layer of data to be able to productize and monetize through the end user. these calls traverse these networks all day, every day, and really before Dubber and before the way we integrate and work with the service provider or the platform, there was no way to capture all of those endpoints and then really have the ability to turn that data into an opportunity for product and to monetize it.
So I wanted to touch on Teams Phone Mobile as well. Something I think you said it's only a month out so far. What can you talk us through the architecture of that, and also the fact that the media can be captured by the recording platform? So I think that's really interesting.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Just again setting the context for what Teams Phone Mobile really is. We sort of post-pandemic started to realize that pretty much everything, the way that people work has shifted, right? So hybrid work is real, remote work is very real as well. And we realize that more and more companies are shifting to a mobile-first persona for a lot of their employees. And so we wanted to sort of create a really compelling value proposition for customers who are deciding to go with mobile-first for a lot of their users. And so we thought about Teams Phone Mobile. I think our approach for Teams Phone Mobile is pretty different, right? The way that we're looking at Teams Phone Mobile, it's not a typical FMC solution where you do some sort of simultaneous ringing and it's not a number. I think
that's the misunderstanding I come across a lot at the moment, is people saying that they think it's just, we've always had this, it's forking, it's simmering. This is different, right?
Yeah, absolutely. It's very different, Tom. And what we're trying to do basically is we're trying to do a very deep back-end integration between the core IMS mobile platform of a telco and our Teams back-end cloud. And we feel like that deep integration is going to enable us to be able to do a lot of different things, a lot of different use cases and scenarios and features. Things like unified voicemail and single call history and pulling the call in from Teams native app to native dialer and a lot of other things as well. So we believe in our philosophy and our strategy for providing that mobile connectivity. I think it's absolutely fantastic. One of the things that's important to realize in the way that I try to explain it is that, Teams has always had multiple clients. So we've got a PC client, we've got a mobile client, you also have desk phone clients, and we have a bunch of really great displays from our partner ecosystem, right? So the way to think about Teams Phone Mobile is it also makes your native dialer on your smartphone, whether it's iOS or Android, and a Teams client as well. And so whenever you make or receive a call on a native dialer, no Teams app required, that is also considered to be a Teams client, so it updates your presence and call history remains preserved. The CDR can be seen in Teams and all the other cool stuff, including, as you mentioned, Tom, call recording policies or any other policies that we may need to push to the user. Like, for example, if we wanted to limit somebody from making international calls, we can do that really easily on a UC platform by configuring those policies in the admin center. But then those policies never before have been translated to a native mobile application. Yeah. And so now that mobile dialer, because it's a Teams client, those policies can extend to a native dialer as well, including call recording compliance policies as well. So if I wanted to put Mark under compliance recording policy, I could do that. And anytime he makes or receives a native dialer call, it'll also all be recorded in one single platform. So single platform for mobile and UC. I don't think that's ever existed before. Single place for discoverability and so on. So that's kind of the value proposition of integrating the native mobile experience into Teams.
I think that recording is really interesting because when I first heard about Teams Phone Mobile, I was initially thinking like smaller customers that are mobile first, maybe first line worker, front line worker. But as soon as the recording conversation came up, I know in lots of larger organizations, compliance recording in mobile is a real pain point. So the ability to have a single platform for voice compliance across mobile and desktop or fixed line, I'm not sure what the word we use is now for soft phone, but have one story for voice compliance for calls and meetings is really exciting, I think.
Yeah, absolutely, right on. We want people to have the optionality to provide either fixed numbers or wireless numbers to their users. Also have the optionality to use the rich team clients on desktop or mobile, or to be able to use the native dialer, because a lot of people just default to picking up their cell phone and making and receiving calls. We want all of that to be in the corporate boundary and to be able to consolidate a phone identity to a UC identity, which doesn't exist today. Your phone number, your mobile phone number, and your UC identity have always been two very separate things, and we want to bring those together.
Yeah, and I think it's like, let's be honest, like even again, a heavy OCS linked Skype Teams user, I would still pick up my mobile and usually use the native dialer, right? It's just muscle memory, all your favorites are there. So I think being able to capture that experience and make it a single experience is really exciting.
It is indeed.
Nice. Adrian, I just wanted to get your view just on the you work with some very big operators as well. Like how impactful is Teams and Operator Connect and Direct Routing being on them in terms of customer demands changing and needing to offer new services and new abilities? Are you seeing it kind of be an important in the relative importance of what's going on in the market? What are you seeing there?
Yeah, absolutely. So you're right. We work with providers across multiple networks and provide that ability to unify multiple data points or voice channels into one single pane of glass, whether that's in the region or across regions. I think what we've seen happen pretty dramatically through and as a result of hybrid work and the pandemic driving customers to really adopt those solutions is they are adopting technology a lot faster and expecting innovation and features to be released a lot quicker. So, we've definitely seen the adoption of these types of services a lot quicker than we had in the past. And it really sort of fits to what Tamer was saying was, there's a heavy drive or pull towards a mobile first initiative. And that's going to continue. And we're going to see the requirement, as we are with many wireless providers around the world, deploy Dubber services into their wireless network as well as providing the same solution across those voice platforms like Microsoft Teams.
I guess you've got the opportunity. Obviously, we're mainly talking about Teams, but you've got other platforms in play. You've got traditional platforms. I guess your customers can offer classic telco recording and Teams across voice, like VoIP meetings, the whole Teams platform as well.
Yeah, and that's part of the benefit of having a platform across all of your networks is one solution to be able to capture and meet those different use cases, compliance or productivity or purely looking at the data to drive automation.
It's interesting. It feels like customers' expectations are changing there as well. Like we moved so fast with mainly meetings in the pandemic. I think it's fair to say I'm certainly seeing customers be more aggressive with their telco moves, and also like there's less telco traditionally moving between platforms is a very slow process, but because it's being done in the cloud, it seems to have sped up now. Is that what you're seeing? Is that fair?
I was going to say it's sort of like the same thing with being on demand, and it used to be the old days where if you left a voicemail on somebody's desk phone, if you got back to somebody in a couple of days, that was acceptable. And now if you don't, return a call or a text in 15 minutes, they wonder what's going on. I think that's the same thing that's happening in telco and provisioning services, is that it's no longer a 30, 60, 90-day kind of turnaround is acceptable. People want to have service immediately. And so the expectation is if I can't get service turned up in a day or two, then there's something wrong. And so, that facilitation across the board will start to happen more rapidly. And it's not just for these services, but it's the provisioning of Dubber call recording services on customers. They want to be able to have it immediately.
Yeah, it seems like as a service is the default position, and then reluctantly fall back to anything that's kind of bespoke or custom or needs extra work. Because and I think I've also seen like a move to customers used to be very much like it was almost a badge of honor that they had the most complex requirements with the most esoteric services, and there was a whole team that did this magic to make it hang together. And I feel like the pendulum has swung now, where it's like, no, we don't want to be I was going to say awkward, maybe that's not the right word, but we don't want to be special and unique and fragile. We want to be as much in line with the general services as possible, so that it's scalable, stable, robust, fast.
Well, service providers like the end customers want to be able to deploy provision in as few clicks as possible, and access more functionality from the portals, upgrading to new plans like other SaaS products that are in the market, whether it's software based, that's moving to the telco space. So that's what we work with the likes of Nuwave and iPilot to automate and be able to scale that at scale more quickly.
Adrian, is it fair to say that recording is a fairly sticky service, right? 'Cause like in telco world, I feel like Microsoft's doing a great job here of providing all this opportunity to customers. You go onto Teams Admin Center, you've got all the countries coverage, you've got all the logos of all the carriers, like you've got plenty of option to mix and match and choose. Like I guess adding things like contact center, Mark talks about local SBC recording, that gives you some way to be more add extra value to that customer, potentially be a bit more sticky as well.
Yeah, I mean, not only is adding additional services on top of that voice layer very sticky, helps a lot with retention of that customer. Purely because they're using that data for a process in their business, whether it's compliance or whether it's to run productivity or automation. Once you're leveraging data from a network, that becomes part of the process for the end customer, and so it helps to create a very sticky type scenario for that service provider.
So I said, like you said, Tom, I mean, there's a lot of people out there that companies that want to have a very vanilla, standardized type service, right? But the reality is that everybody's network is different and the services are different, and so for us, it's all about choice. It's enabling like a menu of all the options and all the choice that you have, and each company can kind of stitch in the choices that make their network more standard, and to be able to provision all of those different choices together, because we understand that there's going to be legacy, there's going to continue to be those things, there's going to be all these one-offs. And so you have to be able to accommodate that and say, because we like complex deals. We like it when somebody wants to be special, because that creates the stickiness for our products and services in there. And so by adding all the choices that somebody may have to mix and match to get what best benefits them is all what we want to be able to provide. And so it's standardization is great, but also providing choice is for those ones that are non-standard, which happens every day, is pretty key.
Yeah, no, fair point. And yeah, you want to meet 100% of the requirement as well, don't you, I suppose? We're coming to time, guys. I think that's been really useful. I appreciate each of your insights. I'd just like to go around the panel and kind of get a last bit of either thoughts or advice for operators. We've got a lot of people joining us. Tamer, what from your point of view, where the market is, where the market's going, any thoughts or advice for those operators?
I think my words of advice are like, there's one thing about delivering PSTN services into Teams that includes, it includes fixed line, it includes mobile, it includes potentially in the future SMS. But then there's another thing about how do we drive deeper relationships with these telcos, right? And so I think more and more I hear customers wanting managed services from a telco or an operator to be able to manage the entire ecosystem of telephony, right? They want to be able to outsource their IT into this particular piece where they want an end-to-end service. They want to have not just for voice, actually, people also asking for a full productivity and collaboration suite. So we have a lot of operators who are providing calling services, meeting services, looking at event production and live events, as well as Viva and the entire M365 stack. So as we think about from an operator perspective, what's our value to the particular customer? One of the things that I always tell telcos and operators is the value that an operator can bring is to manage the complexity. Some of these things can be super, super difficult and complex to do, but the better you can manage the complexity on behalf of the customer, the more successful and deeper that relationship becomes. So that's kind of my advice if anybody's asking or listening for it.
Thanks. Mark, last thoughts and advice for operators?
Yeah, I mean, I agree 100% with everything Timur just said, and that's exactly why we're an Operator Connect Accelerator partner, is that we bring carrier operators into the program, and it's one thing to get onboarded and get the APIs and get set up, to be able to transact business, right? But it's quite another thing to get into the program and then have a platform that enables you to be successful, right? That gives you all of the things that Timur just mentioned, managing the complexity, having the choice to provision and do all of these things, so that when you come out the other side of the onboarding, day 2, you now have a program where you can hit the ground running and you can start onboarding customers with all of those complexities and all of those needs, where you're adding the value. Day 2, you're ready to go. And so I think that's what operators really need to think about, is what is the value of speed to market, customer experience, and being able to turn customers up with all the services, not just their telco, but all the other things like call recording and others, in the next day of coming out of the program.
Great, thanks. And Adrian?
Yeah, I think I'd say working with the platform, call recordings here today, that's one requirement in the market that we're seeing, but, having the ability to leverage a platform that's continually driving innovation to provide that differentiation as time goes on, to be able to add new features and functionality to go to market with is, key to being able to really continue to drive the EBITDA number and the revenue line.
Great. Well, thanks guys for joining. Really appreciate it. Some great insights, I think, there, and from slightly different perspectives from Microsoft, from Dubber, and from Nuwave. If you've got any questions, there'll be contact details after the end of the session. And if you're interested to learn more about any of the options here, please do get in touch and we can route you through to the right person. Guys, thank you very much for joining. Appreciate it.
Thanks so much
for having me, Tom.